The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello there, and welcome to the weekly show. Dan here with Michael and with Moscow in a show that is brought to you by our favourite law firm, not just in Leeds, because they don't just cover Leeds, do they? Or Yorkshire, just cover the whole world.
That's not true.
Is it not? It's on the World Wide Web, though. That's why I thought that.
That's true, but they definitely don't cover the whole world.
No. Mainly English law.
Yeah. Depends what you use. I know property is a bit different in Scotland and stuff, isn't it? But yeah.
Do they deal with property?
They do, yeah. Conveyancing. They do that. That's a property thing.
And if you're buying a house, you wouldn't want to do that without a good will, an up-to-date will, for example. Very, very important.
Yep.
And sort of lasting powers of attorney as well.
You can do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
And you probate for when the bad stuff happens.
Yep. All the good stuff and bad stuff.
And if you fall out with your neighbours or your employer or your employees, whatever it might be, they can probably sort it out. Do you know that?
They can, yeah. Just get in touch with them. Would be my advice.
But what's the most straightforward way to do that? We know that people are obviously terrified about ringing people up these days and speaking to humans.
Oh, that'd be the worst.
Yeah.
Imagine having to speak to someone on the phone. No, levisolicitors.co.uk /the square ball.
That's the website address, is it?
You will probably have to speak to someone at some stage, but they're nice, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. And you will get a 10% discount on your legal fees for going through us. So give them a holler if you have legal matters to attend to. Right then, the weekly update, then we'll round up what's happened in the world of Leeds United. And we know now, it being Thursday morning, that we will play Chelsea in the 5th round of the FA Cup on Wednesday, the 28th of February, just a few days after they have played in the League Cup final. Chelsea, they're playing in the League Cup final on the Sunday. We've got a more important game than that, obviously, with Leicester first before that.
Oh, it's the more fun of the two ties, isn't it? I think going to Villa and just getting beaten would have felt a bit boring. I mean, you never know with Chelsea, do you? They did beat Villa, which suggests maybe they're not terrible. And they've spent £1 billion on footballers too, which suggests they should beat us.
But there's a chance, isn't there, Michael?
There's a chance. There is a chance.
It's the Conor Gallagher factor as well. Little turncoat. Didn't want to come, did he? Didn't want to play for a big club.
And now look what's happened to his career.
Stalled, if anything.
But it's all right, really, isn't it? He's in the England squad and that.
Yeah, but they're going to totally sell him for FFP reasons, aren't they, soon? Because they have to.
Yep. Good.
So what's his motivation to try and win the FA Cup on his way out? Zero. Zilch. I think he's going to score a hat-trick of own goals in this just to get them out of the competition.
Did you enjoy our FA Cup game the other night, Moscow? It was Rob on the match ball. Did you stay awake for it all?
Yes.
Good. Enjoyed it all?
I enjoyed us winning. First half was a bit meandering. But yeah, it was kind of the extra half hour turned out pretty well. 3 Leeds goals. Can't complain. Some of us was very good.
Will we beat Chelsea then, do you think?
Probably not. But, that's okay.
The magic of the cup might argue differently. In fact, do check out the magic of the cup. We've got, for our members as well, our Daft Cup competition. Well, we run like an annual cup competition. It's just a bit of silliness and a bit of fun. Because obviously our interest in the FA Cup is generally over by this time. So we want to maintain some cup fever.
It's dragging on this year, isn't it?
But it really is dragging on. So that is over on the members feed, the TSB Plus feed, by the way.
It does kind of have a parallel to last year when we needed the replay in round 3, didn't we, to get past Cardiff and then beat Accrington at this stage. And then it was a Premier League. We got a big Premier League tie in West London that did for us. We were a Premier League club at that point as well, though, but it didn't quite feel the same. So it is kind of following it last year's pattern. But yeah, I would hope for something slightly less dismal than what went down at Fulham.
I think Fulham as well. There's not much magic there, is there? I know they've been a Premier League team a lot more than us in the last 20 years, but I still don't really count them.
They're kind of an interesting presence in the Premier League because they do seem to be more tourist-based than anything else. Those like neutral tickets that you can get to just go and watch, and they always seem to have a few players like Willian being there. It's kind of like he's just there because he's quite famous, and so you can't get a ticket to watch Chelsea or Spurs or Arsenal or one of the like kind of good London teams. Chelsea want to be back part of that again, but you can be like, I'll go Fulham. They've got some players I've heard of, and see what football's like. And
I don't mind spending £75 because it's my one game that I'm going to this year, so fine. But yeah,
and sort of there for when teams go to other countries on tours and stuff. So it's like Liverpool going there, you can get a ticket for Fulham. It's like, a really good Premier League team are coming. We get to see them visit.
Are Fulham the diametric opposite of what we are as a football club?
I think they'd have to be more successful,
Right.
to be actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Maybe culturally. I like it how we've taken this opportunity to completely unnecessarily just slag off Fulham.
No, it's just an interesting thought. I just thought, is there a club that's more kind of opposite to what we stand for as a rule and the way we're perceived as well than Fulham? Like you say, yeah, if they'd won more, then maybe, yeah.
They're nice as well, aren't they, Fulham fans?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for them in some
bastards.
ways, that when we're trashing them, because they have had that kind of romp up through the divisions from Division 4 to the Premier League and established themselves there, and you think that's pretty good, but then they've kind of lost control of their fate a little bit, where they've just fallen into this sort of touristy trap, and Luton are kind of resisting that, when Luton, it would probably be just as easy for them to do the same as coming up from the National League, getting into the Premier League and going, well, there's a London Luton Airport is right there, so we could turn ourselves into a destination for anybody across Europe who like, I want to go and see a Premier League game. I'll buy a flight to London Luton, get off the plane, go to Kenilworth Road, and see Liverpool or Manchester City. But Luton have definitely avoided any of that kind of stuff. They're very much more like, no, we're going to try and win the Premier League with this squad that we've brought up from the 4th Division.
I do think they have mainly avoided that by being in Luton. That's a key, rather than being in West London, being in Luton.
But the airport, you're not considering the airports.
Yeah,
straight off the plane, straight just like...
You can see Big Ben,
through a
can't you,
terrace house.
from the...
Straight off the plane, straight through somebody's garden in their mid-terrace, into the stadium, football. Great. Perfect holiday.
Just on the doorstep, isn't it?
And you can see all the other stuff that's in Luton too while you're there.
Well, I was thinking this because the World Cup plans have been announced for the USA in 2026, and the final is in New York/New Jersey, which is, I mean, the stadium is in New Jersey. There is no doubt, like, it is not in New York whatsoever. Same thing. The other interesting thing I learned about that stadium, I can't remember what it's called. It's illegal to walk to the stadium.
Is it because I went to its, I think its forerunner at Meadowlands, which is in the same complex, but I think they might have now built a new stadium near, because that's what they tend to do because of the amount of land they've got. Just chuck a new stadium up next to the old one and then demolish the old one and turn it into a parking lot. But I went to the Meadowlands complex in 2005, I'm going to say, because I was in New York celebrating my birthday and then realised it coincided with England playing Colombia in a friendly at Meadowlands. So I ended up going on the final day of the holiday, got kicked out of the hotel that morning, had nothing to do before the flight from JFK at like 8 o'clock that night. Ended up going to a football match. It was weird going from the jarring kind of cultural contrast of mooching around in New York, I mean, dead New Yorkie, to then suddenly going back and being among loads of British football fans and stuff like that on the buses to the stadium. But yeah.
It will be at the MetLife Stadium. But yeah, no pedestrian access. And if you try, you will be jailed.
I got told off for taking a photograph of the stadium when I was there. Stood outside it and took a photograph of the stadium. No photographs of the stadium, please. Sorry?
What?
Security risk.
No way.
It's like, mate, I'm from England. I'm just taking a photo of a stadium I'm visiting.
That's very odd.
Yeah.
Not like you weren't in some sort of back corridors taking pictures of fire doors or anything.
No, I was
just like a generic tourist photo.
It's like being stood outside Elland Road and taking a picture of the South Stand from Elland Road itself. Yeah. And going, there's the South Stand at Elland Road. Yeah. Weird, eh?
Yeah. It's also emphatically not in New York, even though it hosts New York named teams.
Next, you're going to be telling me Luton's not in London.
Well, that's where we began.
And that the Levi Stadium isn't in...
Levi, in a pair of jeans?
Yeah, exactly.
The field of jeans.
Actually, talking about being diametrically opposite, I do wonder, actually, is Chelsea the closest embodiment of something? Because we used to be seen as like the thuggish northerners, and then there was the London press, and Chelsea was seen as quite cavalier and, you know, sort of football purists and stuff, wasn't it? And then they kicked the shit out of each other in the 1970s, but they were loved by the press. We weren't.
It's kind of the whole view of north-south divides along the lines of, you know, the Crays, just lovely lads who wanted to make sure that the mother was looked after,
They
weren't they?
loved their moms.
Whereas up north, just thuggery, like wanton violence with with no rhyme or reason because we didn't wear a nice... I'm not saying I was involved in any 1960s violence, but if I had been, I would probably not have been wearing a Savile Row suit, and that's where it's all... A well-dressed form of hooliganism is what you got from Chelsea.
What would your weapon of choice have been if you were a 60s gangster? What would you have gone for? Kosh? I can't imagine you with a kosh. You could take a man down, but you're probably not going to kill him. I don't feel like you're a killer.
No.
Just slash in the face, as I had.
Yeah.
Just to send a message. That's what you'd be about.
He's not having a bar of it, is he? Anyway, that game is, as we said, Wednesday the 28th of February against Chelsea, between the Leicester game on the Friday and Huddersfield on the Saturday. That's going to be Kaiser Chiefs week, by the way, here on the show. More details about that to follow in the next week or two. In the meantime...
were Chelsea any good? I was looking at Max Gradel getting to the AFCON final, which was nice, 36-year-old Max Gradel with a good cross for Seb Heller, and they won. I wasn't really paying attention to Chelsea.
Didn't watch that one, but I watched the Nigeria-South Africa game before it, which was absolutely amazing entertainment. The closing sequence of that, when Nigeria thought they were 2-0 up, but then it got pulled back for VAR, who gave a penalty to South Africa a couple of minutes from the end, which then sent into extra time. And then South Africa missed a golden chance to win it deep into injury time when the keeper parried a shot. So they should have gone through, perhaps, but then it all went to a shootout and got very exciting. But no, I watched it and... I half watched it. I was sat tip-tapping away on my computer doing other stuff, but just keeping like half an eye on the telly. It seems like they just kind of weirdly ran away with it in that way that sometimes happens with Premier League games. I know it's not one of the Premier League game, but games between two Premier League sides, that sometimes one of them will just beat another.
That is how football goes, to be honest.
Yeah, but you didn't look at it and go, they're absolutely hammering them. It was like every time Chelsea went forward, they seemed to score.
I'm looking forward to seeing putting some faces to the names for Chelsea players, because every week I see the lineup and I go, I don't need these people. It turns out they paid like 40 million quid for absolutely every one of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, sad thing is we can't take it to a replay either, can we? There's no replays from round 5 onwards, so it will be settled on the night.
Oh, well.
But hopefully it should be a half-decent allocation, bit of fun and games, all that kind of stuff. Let's round up what happened at the back end of the window, shall we? One of our new acquisitions, which was quietly announced, was Jordan Miles, the new head of recruitment.
We sort of knew about this anyway, didn't we?
Aberdeen, yeah. He was only up in Aberdeen for a few months. Maybe he saw what was coming up, what was flying in from Cornwall, and decided, you know what? Time for a change of scene.
You don't really need a head of recruitment if you've got Warnock in the dugout, do you?
Just speak to his agent friends, kind of like Willie Mackay, for example. I know he had close links with him.
Yeah, but it's. I feel like this was announced sort of several months ago, wasn't it? I'm sure Phil was writing articles about this last year.
I think it's because he left Aberdeen and he was like, well, I'm going to Leeds, but they wouldn't let him join Leeds until after the transfer window closed in case, I don't know, we signed loads of Aberdeen's targets, which would have upset them.
Are they in Europe at all, Aberdeen?
I don't believe so.
No.
I mean, they've got a lot of helicopters to get to the
old oil rigs. Yeah.
They're quite near to Iceland.
That's true.
If that counts.
Yeah, close enough for me. Yeah. So yeah, we got Connor Roberts in, as you know, a fullback at last. Happy with that?
Yeah, and he knows people, doesn't he? He seems like a very sensible way to go about signing a fullback.
He knows people in the craze sense of the word, or he just knows people?
He knows people. He knows Joe Rodon. He knows Dan James, all his Welsh mates. He's been playing. He was in like the team of the year last year, wasn't he, in the championship and stuff? So he's got some obvious credentials for this league.
Champo pedigree.
In a position that we really need. So
he once tried to strangle Thomas Frank.
Yep.
That's good as well.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Frank has paid people to do that in the past, but Connor Roberts did it because he was angry.
What does that sort of thing cost you these days?
Ask Thomas.
Right, you're not aware?
No, I'm not sure.
No.
Not sure.
It's not going great for them. I mean, just while we're doing a meandering tour of West London, not going that great for them at the minute, is it?
Well, they'll be fine, won't they?
Probably, given that the two of the bottom three are so shit in the Premier League. So you're probably scrapping over one place. But, looking at the bottom end of the Premier League, because we're not in it, we're allowed to be sort of bitter about the people that are. Sheffield United obviously going down because they're 10 points adrift. Burnley going down 7 points adrift.
I hope once they're mathematically down, everyone takes the opportunity to eat sandwiches in front of Chris Wilder.
Yeah.
Because then he'd be like, not a Premier League manager.
Not anymore. And then it looks like it's probably between Everton, Luton, Forest and Brentford, although you wonder if points deductions are going to get factored into this.
I kind of want Forest to go down now just to see what happens. Because they've got so many players, and I suspect they don't have properly arranged contracts because their owner's a maniac. So they'll probably just end up having to pay like 40 footballers Premier League salaries for 10 years in the Championship. So
It does feel like...
I kind of want to see it.
It does feel like it's Everton's turn, though, doesn't it?
They'll be all right.
But what if they get another points deduction?
Funny.
Okay. Who do you want to go down? Call it out of those teams.
Forest.
Right. Moscow. Any preference?
Not really.
No. All of them?
Luton can stay up. I felt bad because earlier in the season I sort of implied that they were sort of skipping along, just happy to get relegated. And then since then, I don't think they've lost a game. But what I meant was that they were kind of approaching being in the Premier League in a more like sensible way than Sheffield United ever have, where they were just like, you know, let's see what we can get out of this. Where it's like, let's get a win. Let's get an away win. Let's get an away goal. They're all kind of these markers where they were just like, let's just do these things and see where it takes us. And where it's actually taken them is pretty far, like further up the table than a lot of people would have predicted. So I kind of like that to work out for them. And then when we get promoted, it should be an easy 6 points next season as we send them crashing back down.
Excellent. We were wrapping up the transfer window, Connor Roberts, and the other stuff.
It felt like that could have been done a lot sooner, but I suppose because he was the obvious choice. Probably if he'd said on the 1st of January, which right back should we sign? We'll sign Wild, the one that's mates with Ampadu, Roden and Dan James, and who like just has to come across from Burnley and who seems dead desperate to play for us and has been ever since he heard the fans booing Gary Monk. That's the real. He really got a kick out of playing at Elland Road and hearing us calling him a snake, calling his manager a snake. So he's wanted to be part of that for ages. But then
they needed a right back, didn't they? So
well, it's the other logic of the transfer window is waiting to get the one that you want, and if it takes 30 days instead of ending up with some, you know, you sign Lawrence de Bock and then Connor Roberts comes available, and I wish we kind of waited.
Did you like the clubs don't go to bed just yet, but in Welsh?
Nice move.
Yep.
Obviously, I didn't understand it, but you know, people translated, didn't they? Speaking of de Bock, the transfer window really just felt like a clearing out of all Victor Orta's work, didn't it? All Victor's pipeline. We've just gone, yeah.
Victor's pipeline.
Has he cleared it out recently? Who knows?
That might be the episode title right there, I think. Victor's pipeline.
Used to be a pathway, but it turned into a pipeline and got clogged.
Did we have to get Dynarod out to declog the pipe?
A little unfair on Sean McGurk. I wouldn't compare him to a Fatberg.
No.
I'm glad that we've let McGurk go.
Yeah.
Because for years it's felt like he's always been going to be able to play and play pretty well, but he's never going to even get on the bench. And we'll sometimes put two goalkeepers on the bench, but never Sean McGurk. It's like, for God's sake, let the man leave.
Do you remember back in the olden days when we used to have the reserves and it wasn't age restricted? And there was, like, for example, when we signed Rod Wallace, Ray Wallace signed along with him, and Ray Wallace, you know, got a handful of first team appearances, but he was ostensibly just a reserve team player. He signed to play in the reserves. You get the feeling that could have happened to McGurk back in the olden days. He'd get to 30, he'd made 2 first team appearances or something like that, and he'd just been in the reserves every week.
To be fair to Ray Wallace, after he left Leeds, he did become a bit of a Stoke City stalwart.
Yeah.
So he didn't wait too long. He had his time. Dylan Kerr as well. He was at Leeds as captain of the reserves very proudly, and then at one point Gordon Strachan, as he tells it, got hold of him and was like, "Let's go and play somewhere." It's like, you've done enough reserve time here, and you got moved to, I think it was Kilmarnock, and ended up winning a lot of stuff with them. He might have gone to Reading first, but yeah, had a good time. McGurk, his first interview when he went to Swindon was quite illuminating, where he's like, yeah, I've been playing really well this season, and I'm quite glad that I'm going to be playing for an actual team now instead of just basically wasting his talent. He didn't say that, but wasting his talent in the under-21s.
He appears to have never played a senior game, even though he's 20, which is a bit
Not
weird.
even for Wigan.
Not even for Wigan, according to Wikipedia anyway.
It's a funny one. The under-21s, because like speaking to the sort of the clearing out of the pipeline and stuff, it is sort of by definition, and the under-23s as was, because of the way that those competitions and those age levels are now constructed, they are basically that's where you go if you've not succeeded as a 17, 18-year-old and you're trying to get back in. So they are almost, by definition, going to fill up with could make it rather than will make it. Because Archie Gray, he played a few times for the under-21s, but he was 16, 15 at the time. With that talent, just get straight into the first team. And there are lots of...
If you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah, basically. And if you are sort of good enough, but you've not quite done it, you're in the under-21s. So there's a lot of people kind of looking at the results of the under-21s lately where the team doesn't look very good and we don't seem to have like a lot of like... There's not a burgeoning like groundswell of talent about to burst through from the under-21s who are getting beaten, although they drew in the cup this week. Who are getting beaten a lot. And,
that was Chelsea as well, wasn't it? 3-3.
And you look at those players and you think, oh, are any of those going to make it? And you're like, no, because if they were going to make it, a lot of them are 21. And if they were going to make it, they'd probably be in a team or they'd be out on loan. So it's kind of...
It's a glass ceiling thing, isn't it?
What we did with... and it's not a bad policy to get players in like McGurk will have... I don't think we got a fee from him in the end, but Hjelde, the talk is that we might have made a profit on him. So we get him in, put him in the under-21s. Is he going to make it as a championship Premier League player for us? Maybe not, but we can sell him on. So you kind of go, yeah, that's fine. The ones that kind of stick out as mad are like JB is the one where it's like 5 million quid and now it's gone to Plymouth. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Lewis Bate is probably a better example where it's like, get him out of Chelsea, bring him here, see what happens. But if it doesn't work, it don't work. Brentford have turned it into an art form where they got rid of their academy for a while and just had a B team made up of players who just didn't make it at other clubs. So it's not the stupidest idea in the world, but execution is always the prime thing. It's not the strategy. It's that you just bought a load of players that didn't make it. But then the flip side is Meslier, Strout, Somerville. Is there anyone else? Those three, pretty good.
There's probably a financial imperative as well, in that even if these players, when they get onto professional contracts, when they're not on like the youth or the young person's contract, 10 grand a week is still £500,000 a year. And then if you inflate that to 20 grand a week, which some of them might quite conceivably be on as young professionals. I don't know what the sort of young players' professional contract scale is, but 20 grand a week is still £1 million a year. And when you've got financial fair play to contend with in this division and your allowable losses are 13 million, suddenly you're £1 million a year. They start to add up, don't they? So I suspect that's part of what you're seeing as well, that players who maybe signed contracts, perhaps when we were in the Premier League or got professional terms when we were in the Premier League or maybe renewed or whatever it might have been, are probably costing us a fair amount of money since we've come down. So you may as well try and offload as much of that cost as possible.
Signings like Bate and Paveda, who you're picking up off Champions League teams, I know we signed Paveda in the Championship, but they sort of make sense when you're in the Premier League and you've got a decent bit of money to burn and you can think, well, we can afford a few speculative ones, and if one or two of them work out, fine. And if you're in the Premier League and you're loaning players out, you seem to be able to turn that into a way of making money as well, where you'll just have someone that you loan to the Championship and you cover their costs, and you maybe eventually they have a good season in the Championship and you sell them for 5 million quid at the end of it. Whereas in the Championship, things need to be leaner, don't they? And that was the thing that Bielsa did essentially. Anyone who was in the squad contributed, and it's become clear with these players that have gone, they're not going to... I mean, Paveda's had a little go this year, so's Hjelde right at the start of the season, but essentially we've taken a look at them and gone, we could do without.
And you said, well, Paveda, we're not going to renew you in the summer. Contract's too big, or you're not quite going to make it, whatever it might be. Offload.
So it's 24.
Yeah, offload some of the cost now. Yeah, just off you go. And it's the same like with Bate, isn't it? Out of contract in the summer, he's obviously not going to stay. So... go on, off, go be free, go have a career somewhere else.
It's a bit of a structural problem with the whole world of football in some ways, because when you talk about the wage cost of these players, we've got to have at least 11 of them to play in the under-21s. So there's always going to be, although you're right that kind of the Premier League boost that some of their contracts might have had, or what contracts they were given under the previous regime might no longer make financial sense. We still need some players to play. It's like what happened in the first summer of Radrizzani and Orta, where players like Oriel Ray was doing an interview the other week who had kind of forgotten about, and there was Kuntum and Uzkov and who else? There was lots of like really. The mistake was that they all got announced, but we really just like went, we need to get some players in because we literally did not have enough players to put out an under-21s team. So it's a cost that every club has to put up with. But then because it's under-21s and under-23s as was, a player like Poveda, by the time they get to 24, and McGurk to an extent where you say he's never played a senior game, it's wasting the time.
Yeah, where'd you put him?
Really? And you would, under previous systems where you had a reserve league, pretty simple, and you would get, players always say it was a bit more competitive because you'd have a real mixture of players, and Poveda, if he was still in our reserves, would be up against 30-year-olds from other teams and 18-year-olds from other teams. It'd just be like a team of players who were not in a first team. But really, players like McGurk, Yelder, Poveda should be playing first team football for somebody, but the way that FFP is kind of constructed and turned them into like profit drivers means that they're just kicking their heels in academy squads, playing low stakes, boring football in empty grounds. And then, Poveda, 24 is like half a career gone. And
I was going to say he's going to be playing in an empty ground, isn't he?
It would. But you talk about, there's talent level comes into that, but then is it better to be playing under 21s football for a championship team or first team football for a League 2 team like Sheffield Wednesday to be?
By 24, Archie Gray will have about 250 appearances under his belt. So I was saying the other night, wasn't I, that I feel like Archie Gray, I've almost stopped considering him a young player now because he's just good. He's just one of our best players. And there's a thing with young players, you kind of give them a lot of leeway. You go, oh, well, they're going to be in and out. They're going to make mistakes and stuff. Because Archie Gray just doesn't. You just go, fine. He's up there. He's on a level with Ampadu, for example, who has played 200 games. He's that good straight away.
Yeah, to stick with Poveda as the example, Rutter, Somerville, Nyonto, they're all younger than him. Who else? Dan James is probably a little bit older. Is he 25, older, 26?
Not much.
So, there comes a time where you just got to say, just go and play somewhere else, mate.
We're 5 weeks out from Archie Gray's 18th birthday. Apart from a new contract, what are you getting him?
Just does James Milner done a book? I feel like he could learn something from James Milner. Just steady away, Archie. Don't do anything silly.
The Square Ball Podcast.